Hey, Bryan, thank you so much for taking out the time to share your experience, not only with myself, but with other firm owners that might be similar to you in your same shoes. But before we dive into some questions I have, I'd love it, Bryan, if you could share where you're located in the country, how long you've had your firm, and what are the services you do, like tax, planning, bookkeeping, etc. So if you could share that, that'd be great.
Thank you, Michelle. So I'm located here in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. We run a virtual office services. We've been in business since 2022, so it's been 4 years now.
Yeah.
Services that I provide are tax planning, CFO advisory, tax preparation, and bookkeeping. And now we're getting into IRS representation as well.
Oh, wow, cool. So, what was your stress levels like before you started working with me, and what do you feel was the culprit to all of that before you decided to figure something out and reach out for support?
Yeah, so stress levels prior to working with you were very high. It's when you start a business, you're trying to just get whoever comes into the door, and that was my story. I just try to help and get a lot of just try to help as many people as I could. But as I started scaling, I started seeing that there's a whole nother level to this, and it's working with the right people and seeing your value. So it was just stressful because I was trying to run my business in 2025 which was my biggest year, as the same way that I was running it in 2022 when I started and left my job. So it was really stressful. And really, what kind of the culprit of everything behind it was I was just trying to really get work and get more clients, but I failed to see my value. So I would say the biggest shift was seeing my value and what I offer to clients, and that really changed the game for me.
Yeah, would you do anything differently looking back in 2022? Because I think a lot of firm owners, Ryan, are in your same boat where they're just taking on anything and everybody that comes their way because you've
Mhm.
got bills to pay, you've got other things. We're realizing that honing in and focusing on an ideal client, which we you did realize with me was very important and has significantly shifted the way you're operating your firm now. Is there anything that you would share with a brand new firm owner that might have been in your shoes, where you were back in 2022, now that you see it and from a
Mhm.
sales standpoint, how it hindered you?
Yes, for a firm owner that's starting off and was in the position, I would say the main thing would be see your value, and sales mastering sales is something that's a must. You always got to be constantly seeing how you could grow your firm, but you want to grow it with the right people as well. So I would say do not be afraid to invest in yourself. Do not be afraid to make the steps necessary to obtain the knowledge and wisdom of not only other CPA firm owners that are doing this, but also of experts in other fields like yourself, Michelle. So I would say seeking wisdom and knowledge and investing in yourself would it's a non-negotiable, and it's gonna be what's gonna break through. I waited a very long time to make the move here, and I see what I missed out on this last year or two that I waited. So I would say do not be afraid to make the jump at the
What's
end
your
of the
biggest
day.
regret? What did you see as your losses in the last year or two since you knew about the abundant accountant, the 8-week sales mastery course, but you waited a year or two? I think that's a really important thing to hone in on. Like,
Yes.
what is it that you have realized that you missed out on? And then what do you regret the most?
Yeah, so what I missed the most out on, I mean, it's just the lost revenue in my firm, and it goes beyond just lost revenue. So lost revenue and the revenue I could have used to hire a key member in my team to help me further expand my business,
Yeah.
or maybe other resources that could help expand my knowledge base. So I missed out on that, and maybe even an opportunity to build my own wealth. So I would say that's the biggest thing that I've missed out on. And what was the other part? The
What do
other
you
question?
regret the most?
I regret the most not having made the move, or at least have sought out at least signed up for the call. Because at least when I first had the call and I talked with Denise, I was able to see everything in a better light, and I was guided in the right direction from there.
Yeah.
So,
And what do you feel, Brian, hindered you from reaching out for support a year or two ago? Like, what do you feel was in your way or blocking you
mhm.
then where you're like, oh no, I'll wait, I don't need that help right now. Like, what do you feel looking back? was
Mhm.
in your way?
I would say the fear to make a change and
Mhm.
maybe the fear of not knowing. I would say the fear of facing the problem head on. A lot of us, believe it or not, in the accounting field are scared of sales in a sense, or really approaching the direct problem itself. So it was mainly that, I think, in my situation and getting out of my shell to really embrace this because a lot of this new change is uncomfortable,
Yeah.
but it's necessary to make the next big growth leap in my business. So I would say that's probably that and overthinking.
Yeah, that and overthinking. But I think like you nailed it on the head, facing the fear itself of something that you just are scared of anyway, which are sales conversations with your clients and increasing your prices and terrified that everyone you brought in since 2022 might leave you. Was
Mhm.
there a moment or something that happened in your firm where you're like, okay, I just got to do this. I'm going to schedule the call. Like, what was that thing where you just kind of, it might not be hit rock bottom, but that moment where you're like, okay, I can no longer continue this way. I need to face this fear head on. I need to learn sales and I need to create a sales process in my firm. Like, walk us through that decision-making process for and what that was looking like for you.
Yes, thank you, Michelle. So the one thing that just caused me to change everything was, I mean, I actually did hit rock bottom, and it was just last year. So
Okay.
I what ended up happening is I had the year where I had the highest revenue and achieved in my firm, but at the end I had nothing to show for it. I had a lot of scope creep. It was the most stressful year of my life.
Mm,
I barely crawled out alive. And what happened as I was looking at my numbers and reflecting, the sales were great, but in reality, profit was not. So it just comes down to I got a lot of yeses, but I never really structured everything as I should have. So I realized one, I did not proactively work on the sales with the right clients, but also I felt like a lot of scope creep got me and I just made it out alive, barely stressed and nothing to show for it.
yeah.
So what that changed, the mindset that it changed in me was, I gotta take ownership of this and sales is the single most important driver in my business. I have a lot of value to offer. I had clients even leave and without even seeing the true value, and that stung a lot. So
Yeah.
that losing money and actually ending up with the big tax liability wasn't fun at all. So like I need to make a change and
Yeah.
really just see it. So that's what caused me to really think on. I remember the abundant accountant. I listened to your podcast. I was like, you know what? I really need to see my value because if these other people have done it, like I could do it too. We've all been in the same spot. So
Everyone
that's what,
starts at the bottom, right? Or we hit rock bottom a couple years in. Either we're all
yeah,
starting from the same area, right? We either have brand new firms or mid-sized firms like you, or somewhere in the million to a couple $1 million range. And I think at some point we have to, like you said, face our fears, right? Did you
correct.
have any initial skepticisms before you decided to enroll in our 8-week sales mastery course, or was there any hesitations or fears about enrolling and saying, okay, I'm going to do this?
That's a very good question. So, I mean, the hesitations was it's something new. I'll be, I've pushed sales aside. I mean, I've just grown referrals, so sales hasn't been really something I've embraced prior to doing your program. So I think really I would say what you're asking here would be what I felt the most there was just kind of that hesitancy to embrace the sales process and have really. I think what held me back is the idea of having those difficult conversations, well, not really difficult,
Yeah.
but I would say difficult conversations with clients.
Yeah.
So I just realized I was in a spot where I could no longer afford to avoid that, and if I ever want to grow beyond my
Mhm.
goals, then I have to do what's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So that I would say that, and at the time too, I would say even my limited financial resources, I had no idea what to expect. So maybe finances, in a sense, was gonna hold me back, but I just realized I'm gonna be resourceful. I'm gonna make it work because
Yeah.
I have no other option.
Yeah. And you found the money and you paid, and I think you've made a bunch of money on top of it. What have been your biggest successes and your financial wins since enrolling in the course in just the last 7 or 8 weeks?
Yeah, so I'll start with the biggest successes, even before like the financial wins, was just, I mean, the very first thing, just seeing my value. I mean, just going through the whole value exercise, something I wasn't really able to get a grasp on. It was eye-opening. I was like, wow, okay, So that helped out a lot and it built a good foundation. And my biggest financial wins I mean, I'm just scratching the surface, but something that I took years trying to develop the service structure that I could offer clients and give them the best possible outcome. I wasn't really able to put together. I struggled with it, and now I finally was able to solve it as we were going through your courses. But the big financial wins while in the course, number one, collecting on over 25K of receivables that I had beginning, I was able to get that back. So going forward, I have zero AR. And then number two, I've actually started building for accounting cleanup, which I never done in the past. It was always scope creep and it would aid up into everything else that clients paid. So it was now charging for cleanup. And even now, like on the tax side of things, I was able to go with the high value price and have had huge success. So far, 98% of the clients have said yes. And
How much total additional revenue have you generated in just the last 2 months?
yeah, total additional revenue. Yeah, just I would say so. Yeah, the markup. Ooh, I would say just tallying it up right now, we're looking at about almost 50,000 of extra tax revenue compared to last year for the same amount of returns. It's huge.
Yeah, and you have 20,000 of AR that's not AR anymore. It's now in your bank account, and you're getting paid
Yes.
for everything up front. So
Oh,
super proud
yes.
of you, Bryan, of all the work that you've done. Um, I'd love it if you could share too, like, what did you like best about working with us, being in the program?
Mhm.
What did you find unique and maybe different than other things that you've seen out there? Because I'm sure there's a lot of coaches, a lot of different programs and educational stuff that you're have been a part of. What would
Sure.
you say is different about working with us here at the Abundant Accountant and being inside our 8-week sales mastery course?
Yes. So, I mean, just besides the amazing content you have, the one thing that stood out from almost every single other program that I've been part of was just the strong accountability and I would say code that you and your team had. So basically, each week of these 8 weeks, I felt that strong accountability where like, hey, I need to be on top of my game. I need to get this stuff done. The commitment, because I've seen the commitment on your team on helping me be successful. So I was realizing, I got to put my part regardless. Like that's a non-negotiable. So just your team's ability to keep us on top of our game and giving us a strong accountability through like the process of doing homework and
Yeah.
presenting our questions in the meeting and whatnot. I would say that's what stood out the most. Like all other programs say, hey, they let you buck your speed and whatnot, and you can kind of get lost. But right here, it's like, no, if I miss a week, I'm already almost out of the game. So
Yep.
it really helped me move with speed. And I think that unique accountability in sport helped me move with speed. And I would say helping people move with speed is what we all need. So I would say that's what makes you stand
Yeah.
out.
Well, and if we don't, you wouldn't have the extra 50,000 of revenue that you have, and it would just sometimes just takes longer, right? But
True.
I appreciate you sharing how our approach was different and unique than others. And I think there's a lot of people, Bryan, that have spent 10, 20, $30,000 on other coaching, on other programs, and it hasn't worked for them. So what would you say for those people that might be hesitant or fearful or skeptical because they're like, well, and I'm sure you even thought this, like you watch the testimonials, you've listened to my podcast, and did you ever think, will this work for me?
Okay. Yeah. So I would say, yeah. So I, I, in terms of if they will work for me, just given the testimonials and given the podcasts, I knew that this was the right place to start. So even just based on prior successes and what I've been listening on the episodes already gave me enough trust level to know this is going to work. So for me, it was more of the curiosity as to how the process was going to shape out and what it was going to look like. So I wouldn't say there was a doubt. There's the good content, but I mean, for a new firm owner that maybe hasn't listened to the podcast before, I would say, yeah, like don't just trust the process. And if there, I would say testimonials, so even if the podcast wasn't there, but just the fact that there's testimonials, there's already living proof that this works. And I want even my case
Yeah.
to be something to help them.
Awesome. Thank you, Bryan, so much for sharing and taking out the time to share so openly with other firm owners that might be in your same shoe. They might have heard about us, they're waiting, and they're really scared to face those fears, especially around sales and having these difficult conversations with clients. Do you have any other words of wisdom for someone who's really serious, either about starting their firm and doing it the right way instead of like what you experienced and not having profit and working so hard and having high revenue, but nothing to show for it, and then not being in the position to even pay your taxes? Or for someone who's serious about taking their firm to the next level where they've had it for a couple years like you, but know that there are some major things they need to change in their sales process. What words of wisdom would you have for another firm owner that might be watching this that maybe I didn't ask you that question, but you feel compelled to share?
Yes, of course. I would say don't hold back. Just make the step forward, invest in yourself, and trust the process. It works. It really works, and this is a lifelong skill that's going to help you in so many areas. So, yeah, I came personally. I came in thinking the sales, but not. I came out learning things beyond just sales. You know, just helping, just as you demonstrated in your team, keeping us accountable, helping us get through the program and be successful and follow the code. You know, at the end of the day, there's so much to learn from this program, and you know, just don't hold back, invest in yourself, and just be a sponge and absorb everything that you can within this 8 weeks, because it's not only what you're gonna experience, but also you're gonna see other firm owners in the group. You're gonna learn and obtain wisdom from other people doing it as well. So there's just a lot of knowledge to obtain, so little time, and I think sales is the lifeline of your business going forward. So if you're looking for a change that's gonna forever set the tone for your growth going forward, this is the place to be in. And I could say from my experience, I'm very excited because I took myself out of the financial hole, and now I'm just scratching the surface. There's just so much unlimited opportunity from there. So I would encourage you, if you want to look for a similar change to yourself and your firm, do not hold back and be willing to invest in yourself. And this process will pay out, and you will see true results if you're committed and you put in the work.
Awesome. Thank you, Bryan, so much for taking out the time to share. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Michelle.